Hello everyone, welcome back to Talking History. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all keeping well. So last week I done the video of William Clito, and if you haven't seen that yet, I will link that somewhere for you to go and find. But this week's video is going to be all about Robert Fitzroy, first Earl of Gloucester, who was the illegitimate son of Henry I and half-brother to Empress Matilda. And if he is someone you are interested in, then you know exactly what to do. Robert was the eldest of King Henry I's many illegitimate children. He was born around 1090, before Henry's accession to the throne. Now, Robert's mother isn't known with certainty. However, it's possible that she may have been Sybil Corbett, who was a member of the minor nobility in Oxfordshire. But another suggestion was a Norman woman, as William of Malmesbury referred to Robert's Norman, Flemish and French ancestry. However, this could be a reference from his father's side. So Robert and his half-siblings were all acknowledged by Henry. However, it's unlikely that Robert was raised in his father's household. Robert was, though, well educated to a high standard. He was literate in Latin and had interests in literacy, in history and philosophy. In 1113, Robert appears in court in Normandy, and around 1114, he married Mabel Fitzhayman, which was arranged by his father. Mabel was a wealthy heiress, and through the marriage, Robert acquired substantial lands in Gloucester and Glamorgan in Wales and also in Normandy. The marriage took place in June 1119 in Normandy, and it was around 1121 or 1122 that King Henry created his son as the first Earl of Gloucester. Robert was described as a man of proved talent and admirable wisdom. In Henry's court, Robert became one of his father's principal aides and captains. In 1119, he fought in the Battle of Bremyall, and he was one of the king's chief commanders during the Norman Rebellion in 1123 to 1124. After Robert's legitimate half-brother, William Adelin, died in the White Ship in 1120, Robert was greatly involved in his father's attempts to ensure the succession of his half-sister, Empress Matilda. On the 1st of January 1127, Robert was one of the first to swear his allegiance to Matilda as queen after Henry's death. Now, at some point during this, Robert was given the keeping of Dover and Canterbury and control of Kent and the Channel crossing route. When Henry fell ill from possible food poisoning in Normandy late November 1135, Robert was at his father's side, and he swore to stay with his father until he was buried, when the king died on the 1st of December 1135. After Henry's death, Robert had attended a series of conferences in Normandy where Norman nobility had accepted Theobald of Blois, I can't pronounce that name, who was the second eldest of Henry's nephews by his sister Adela. But it was during one of these meetings that news had reached them that Theobald's younger brother Stephen had already been accepted and crowned as King of England. Robert essentially accepted this, and he attended Stephen's ceremonial court at Easter in 1136. He doesn't seem to have been supporting his sister, as he didn't assist her during her invasion of southern Normandy, but then he did have other distractions, as in 1136 in Wales, Welsh magnates in southeast Wales had raised up against the Anglo-Norman settlers in April. So Robert had spent much of that year stabilising the situation, and peace treaties were reached within the Welsh. Back in England, Robert had many disagreements with King Stephen, and Robert was also disgruntled that he hadn't had the central place in politics that he had once held in his father's court. And Robert was also concerned about how much Stephen had favoured his Flemish mercenary generals and the Beaumont brothers Walwan and Robert Earl of Leicester. So Robert also had his English and Welsh estates seized by King Stephen in 1137. So Robert withdrew from court by the end of 1137, and from then on he became a firm supporter to his half-sister, Empress Matilda. In 1138, Robert declared his support for Matilda, and in 1139, Robert sailed back to England from Normandy with his half-sister, Empress Matilda, and an army, arriving at Arundel Castle on the 30th of September. There they were welcomed at Arundel by Matilda's stepmother, Adeliza. From there, Robert went on to Bristol. Now, King Stephen had blockaded the castle. However, because Matilda hadn't shown herself as a threat, and King Stephen being chivalrous, he let Matilda leave, where she went on to join Robert at Bristol. With Matilda and Robert based in the West Country, the Civil War began, the anarchy, which I have done a video for and I will leave linked somewhere. So whilst his first move was to command raids in Dorset and Worcester, both were the possessions of the Beaumont brothers, and Robert had taken lands in Dorset of Robert of Leicester as his own, and to other royalists within the area. However, at the beginning, Robert had found some difficulty in recruiting wider support for Matilda's cause. Now, King Stephen succeeded in containing Robert along the line of the Cotswolds. Now, both sides were willing to send representatives to a peace conference held in Bath in August 1140, although nothing came of it. Robert's biggest opportunity came at Christmas in 1140, when Robert's son-in-law, Earl Ranulph of Chester, had fallen out with King Stephen over the failed negotiations with Stephen to secure Lincoln Castle. Robert and Ranulph united their forces at Castle Donington in January 1141, which included Welsh mercenaries allied to Robert on the 2nd of February in 1141. They defeated King Stephen at the Battle of Lincoln. I have also done a video on the Battle of Lincoln, so I will also leave that linked for you. And King Stephen was captured. Empress Matilda now had the perfect opportunity to secure the throne, but with a combination of stubborn royalists, miscalculation and military misjudgment led to Matilda losing her cause. On the 14th of September 1141, Robert and Matilda became trapped by a royalist army in an attempt to seize control of Winchester. Robert was captured fighting a rearguard, and the river crossing of Stockbridge allowed Matilda to escape. Robert was imprisoned at Rochester Castle for 2 months before he was released for the exchange of King Stephen. The joint release was on the 1st of November 1141 at Winchester. In doing so, the two had a chance to exchange remarks, and apparently, I don't know how true this is, But Robert had assured Stephen that there was nothing personal in the fighting. Like I said, I don't know how true it is, but I hope it is. The war continued with no one gaining the upper hand, and Matilda had become trapped in Oxford, and from there she managed to make a daring escape. Later in 1147, with the war continuing but neither side taking the advantage, Robert was in Bristol when he became feverish. Robert then died on the 31st of October in 1147, aged around 57. Matilda had lost her biggest supporter, and she returned to Normandy, where she gave her fight to her son, Henry, and it would be Henry who would succeed King Stephen by becoming King Henry II and the start of a new dynasty. And there's Robert of Gloucester's story. I really hope you enjoy it. This won't be the last we will hear of Robert of Gloucester. He will make an appearance in a few more videos. But let me know of your thoughts of Robert. Doing the research of Robert, I actually really admire him. I like him a lot. So let me know your thoughts. And until then, look after yourselves. Be good and be kind to yourselves. We all need that kindness every now and then. Look after yourselves. See you soon.